JT Shaver here with New Layer, and today we'll be taking a look at 4 different field monitors and seeing how bright is bright enough to be used outdoors in full sun. The 4 monitors that I have are the Andycine A6 Plus, the Andycine C7, the Osee T7, and the Timbrecod DC-80. I don't have any Feelworld monitors on hand to directly compare, but it seems like the Andycine monitors are the exact same thing but also come with a carrying case. Before I get into the specifics of each of these monitors, I do want to cover the basics and just go over why you might want an external monitor in general. I know when I started looking, the benefits of an external monitor weren't very clear, so hopefully this will help you out. If you just want to see the comparisons, feel free to skip ahead with the chapter links in the description. With a bigger screen, it's much easier to set framing, focus, and exposure, and they really come in handy when you're trying to film yourself. They're also really nice if you're doing something like top-down shots for unboxing videos because you can stick the monitor on a mini tripod on the desk and see exactly what you're doing. Most cameras have histograms and zebras and things like that, but the ones on monitors are usually more detailed and have more customization options. You'll also find things that aren't available on most cameras, like false color, which helps you more precisely set the exposure. I don't want to get too into the details of zebras and false color, but zebras are usually used to help you show what's too bright or clipping in your scene, or you can set them to a lower value to find out the exact exposure of a specific thing in your scene. For example, if you want to expose your skin tones at 50 IRE, you can set your zebras to 50 and then adjust your exposure until you see the zebra overlay on the skin of your subject. False color is similar to zebras, but while zebras only give you a single value or a small range of values, false color gives you the entire spectrum so you can see what everything in your scene is on the IRE scale. Overall, both of these tools just make it easier to set exposure and have been really helpful for me, especially when I'm shooting in log profiles. External monitors also have a wider range of grids, center marks, and custom matte sizes for different aspect ratios, and some settings for things like de-squeezing anamorphic lenses. The last, and probably my favorite thing about external monitors, is the ability to use custom LUTs. Most monitors have built-in LUTs, but all of these monitors also allow you to load your own custom LUTs. So if I want to shoot in S-Log3 on my A7S III but preview what the final corrected look is in Rec. 709, I can do that. The A7S III has something called Gamma Display Assist, which does the same thing on the camera, but some cameras don't have that, and it's just much easier and faster to toggle that on and off on an external monitor. Plus, with an external monitor, you can preview what the log image looks like on the camera screen and what the final Rec. 709 image looks like on the monitor. With all that said, let's jump into the unique features of each monitor to help you see what might be the best one for you. The smallest monitor I have is the Andycine A6 Plus and is 5.5 inches. It comes with the monitor itself, 1 NPF battery, a battery charger, the sunshade, the L-shaped swivel arm, a micro HDMI to HDMI cable, a micro USB to USB cable, and a nice carrying case. This monitor is seemingly the exact same as the Feelworld F6 Plus, and they're both usually around $180. This monitor does have a touchscreen, but sometimes it's easier to just use the buttons or dials instead anyways. With a single press of the button, you'll get some shortcuts, which unfortunately are not customizable, but they are some of the more used functions. So you'll get things like the focus assist, the histogram, the parades, and even a button to turn all of the waveforms on at once. If you hold the button down, it opens the full menu system, which I find really easy to navigate, and it really only takes 1 or 2 minutes to fully set this thing up. Another thing that's huge for me that not every monitor has is an auto rotate feature. So if you're behind your camera setting the framing for a talking head video of yourself, but then you want to see yourself while you're filming, you can flip the monitor and it will automatically flip the image so it's right side up. It's super annoying to have to go into the menu and change that manually, so no matter what monitor you buy, I highly suggest you get one with an auto rotate feature. At the very minimum, make sure you get one that you can program one of the custom function buttons to quickly flip the screen. You can power this monitor with Sony NPF batteries or a V-mount battery with the correct D-tap to barrel cable. This is also the only monitor in this lineup that supports Canon LPE6 batteries, which are really small and lightweight, so it's really handy to have that option, especially if you're already a Canon shooter. It also has an 8-volt power output port, so you can power other things like your camera using the same battery. As great as this monitor is, there are some downsides that I wanted to mention. The first thing is the build quality, and it's not bad at all, but it is plastic, and it's just not as rugged as higher end units. Most of the more expensive monitors are still plastic, but they have aluminum frames on the inside and reinforcement around the quarter 20 threads and some of the other ports. The brightness of this monitor is only 500 nits, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just means that you can only really use this in a controlled environment. It does come with a monitor hood so you can see it easier, but it's still not really a good choice to be shooting outdoors in bright sun. This monitor does have quarter 20 threads on the bottom, right side, and top, and it does have some indexing holes for pins, but it's not standard spacing. It works really well with the L-shaped swivel bracket that comes with this monitor, but some of my other monitor mounts don't quite fit right. It's not a huge deal because the pins on other monitor mounts will compress down since they're spring-loaded. They just won't help to align the monitor when you put it on. The next monitor is the Timbrecod DC-80, which is 7 inches, so it's bigger, but it's only around $160. They also have a cheaper non-touchscreen version and a smaller 5.5-inch version that's only $120. I don't know if the 5.5-inch version has less features than this one, or if it's just a smaller version, so make sure you check that out if you want to pick that up. It comes with the monitor, a very sturdy magic arm mount, a micro HDMI to HDMI cable, a mini HDMI to HDMI cable, a basic cold shoe mount, a 90-degree adjustable cold shoe mount, the AC adapter, and a soft carrying pouch. Soft carrying pouches like this are my least favorite out of every type of case, so I keep mine in the box, but there are some generic 7-inch monitor cases out there that would work just fine. A big difference with this monitor is that it has an internal battery at 3,500 milliamps, which could be a good or a bad thing. It is more compact and streamlined, and you don't have to worry about bringing separate batteries or chargers. Since it is 3,500 milliamps, it is between the popular 2,600 and 4,400 milliamp NPF batteries, so the runtime is pretty comparable. At the same time, you obviously can't swap in fresh batteries when this one dies. You can power this monitor with the AC adapter or with a V-mount battery with the right cable, so for you, having a slimmer setup with the option of a V-mount battery as backup might be the better choice. Or if you have an NPF battery plate with a D-tap out, you can use NPF batteries if you don't have any V-mounts on hand. Instead of an L-shaped swivel bracket, this one comes with a magic arm mount. It has a rosette-style locking elbow in the middle, and all 3 of the joints of the arm lock really tightly with just one knob. So this mount does give you a little more flexibility and positioning, but sometimes the L brackets are better if you find yourself flipping your monitor back and forth a lot. Overall, I recommend having a few different monitor mounting options on hand all the time. One thing I really like about this monitor is the build quality, which is kind of surprising given that it's one of the least expensive options. It's made of aluminum alloy instead of plastic, and all the buttons feel really nice. And speaking of buttons, this one has 4 customizable function buttons that just makes toggling certain settings on and off much quicker. This is really important for this monitor in particular because it does not have an auto rotate feature. Luckily, you can set image flip to one of the function buttons. That way when you flip it over, it's just a quick press of the button instead of having to go into the menu to do it. The bezel on this one is also the smallest out of all these monitors, so it is going to be one of the smaller and thinner options for a 7-inch monitor. One downside to this monitor is that the built-in LUTs are not something that I would trust. Like there's one called S-Log1, but I don't know if that's meant to be used with Sony S-Log2 or 3 or neither because it doesn't really make sense. I would definitely recommend putting your own custom LUTs on this monitor and really any monitor in general, just so you know exactly what's going on. The other monitors in this video load custom LUTs via SD card, but this one uses USB. I was hoping I could plug the USB directly into the computer and just transfer them that way, but that's not the case. The manual says to use a USB flash drive, but it has a mini Type B USB port, which I've never seen a flash drive with that type of port. I'm currently waiting on an adapter to put my own custom LUTs on this monitor, and it should work fine, but I'll have a link in the description to whatever I find that works. The brightness on the DC-80 is also 500 nits, so it's probably not going to be the best choice for using outdoors or in a really bright environment. Next is the Andycine C7, which is the same thing as the Feelworld LUT7 and is $270. It comes with the monitor itself, 1 NPF battery, a battery charger, the L-shaped swivel arm, a micro HDMI to HDMI cable, a mini HDMI to HDMI cable, a micro USB to USB cable, and a nice carrying case. This is a 7-inch monitor, so it's essentially a bigger version of the A6 Plus, although there have been some upgrades. It has all the same functions and menu system, but it comes in at 2200 nits, so it is bright enough to be used outdoors without a monitor hood, which is why it doesn't come with one. Another welcome addition are the 3 custom function buttons, which you can program to your most used settings. So on mine, I have F1 set to false color, F2 set to my S-Log3 to Rec 709 LUT, and the F3 function set to zebras. This monitor also has a sensor on top, so it will automatically adjust the brightness if you have that setting turned on. The HDMI ports on this one are on the bottom, where on the A6 Plus and the DC-80 they're on the left side. And sometimes that's annoying if you flip the monitor up because then you have the cable sticking straight out the top. It is a minor thing, but I usually prefer to have the HDMI ports on the side of the monitor. On the Andycine C7, you'll find 2 NPF battery slots on the back. They are hot swappable, which is nice, and since this monitor is ultra bright, it's really handy to have the capacity of 2 batteries when you're using it at full brightness. They also make the C7S, which is the same monitor with SDI input and output, for $370. Lastly, I have the Osee T7, which is another 7-inch option. It comes with the monitor, a D-tap to lockable barrel cable, a small cold shoe mount ball head, and an AC adapter. It doesn't include a battery, a charger, or a case, and it costs $427, so let's see how it stacks up against these cheaper options. The main feature of this monitor is its brightness at 3000 nits. So if your main priority is being able to use this in any situation, this might be the best choice. This monitor is made of plastic, but that doesn't bother me because it's really nice plastic and it's reinforced by an aluminum frame on the inside, as well as around the mounting points. It can be powered with a single NPF battery, a V-mount battery using the included cable, or the AC adapter. Another important distinction is that the Osee T7 does not have a touch screen. Not being able to use the touch controls doesn't really bother me at all because I usually use the buttons anyways, but you just have to be more careful when you're handling this monitor. With the others, when I'm putting the monitor on or adjusting it, I can really grab it anywhere, but with this one, you just have to be more careful not to grab the actual screen. This monitor shares all the same functions as the others, and it also has some special false color modes that make it even easier to set your exposure. The control setup on the T7 uses a single joystick to do absolutely everything. It does take some getting used to, but it allows you to do some really cool stuff. Osee uses custom pages called sets, and you can set 8 custom functions per page. So for example, you can set your first page to be used for framing and focus, so you can set it up with focus peaking and different aspect ratio mats, and then have a separate page to do other things. So the second page can be used solely for exposure and have false color and zebra and things like that, and you can quickly toggle through all your pages. The downside to that is that when you switch from one page to another, all the settings from the previous page are no longer active. That might seem like a big deal, but it's really not. You just have to kind of get used to it because this monitor is almost like having 8 custom function buttons when other monitors only have 3 or 4. I can't think of a time where I've been shooting and wanted to have more than 8 custom functions turned on at once. With all that said, let's see how these monitors compare at full brightness in full sun. As you can see, 500 nits just is nowhere near bright enough to be used outside in full sun. The Timbrecod DC-80 does look a little brighter than the Andycine A6 Plus, but it's not a meaningful difference. The Andycine C7 is significantly brighter at 2200 nits, and it works pretty darn well outside in full sun. It was about as bright as it could possibly get outside when I recorded this, so especially if you're using this in the shade or on a cloudy day, you should have no issues using it outside. The Osee T7 essentially matches the sun in brightness, which is pretty crazy. We're talking needing to squint just to open your eyes. It was that bright outside, so the T7 is clearly the winner when it comes solely to brightness. There's tons of other monitor options out there, like the Atomos Ninja 5, which is not only a monitor, but a field recorder at the same time, so this video really only covers the basics. If you want to see something more in depth on a specific monitor, leave a comment and let me know. So what do you think? Do you need a monitor that's bright enough to be used outdoors, or is one of the cheaper options fine for you because you're normally in the studio? I'll have links in the description to everything I mentioned in this video, and they are affiliate links, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it really helps me create more videos like this. I do camera gear reviews, lighting setups, and other videos every week, so if you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe and follow me on social media because I post a lot of stuff there that doesn't make it to YouTube. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.